Good morning. So, today I wanted to talk about what happens if you are disciplined, consistent, and there's no results. I think this is a topic we need to talk about. See, especially for people like me who are organized and somewhat disciplined, we're used to, as long as we put our mind to something, we get what we want. I know before the year of 2005, 2006, all I had to do was think about something. That's it. That's all I had to do was think about something and I got it. I didn't even really have to work hard for it. After 2006 and on, things kind of changed in my life. And that was after, I think 2005 is when my first son was born. And then a year later, my second son was born. And since around that time, God has blessed me with things that I've wanted, but it didn't happen the way it used to happen in 2005. So the question is, what changed, right? So for people like me who are organized and were disciplined, and like I decided I wanted to finish high school early. That was my plan. So I had a plan to finish high school early, and I did. Instead of graduating when I was 17 years old, I graduated when I was 16 years old. There was a lot of difficulty, but I set my mind to it and I did it. I wanted to go to a university. At the time, on my mom's side of the family, I was the only person that was going to college, the only person that was pursuing education. At that time, because of my age, I was the only person on my dad's side that was going to college. I was determined to get an education. I put my mind to it. I went to college and I got my education. I was determined to learn how to drive. I hired someone to teach me how to drive. I learned how to drive. I was determined to get a driver's license. I studied the book to get a driver's license, and I passed the driver's test. I passed the written test. So anything I put my mind to, I normally would succeed in it because that's just my personality. I'm very determined. I'm very ambitious. I was determined. I remember, I don't know, people who know me know this story, but just in case you haven't heard this story, I'm going to go ahead and tell you again. But when I graduated from college, I was one of those fortunate people that was able to go in my field right away. And the reason why I was fortunate is because I was already in the field already, but I hadn't had the management experience. But now that I had the degree, it was easier for me to get hired as in the management field because I already had the experience prior to graduation, and now I had a degree. So my first management job was a supervisor job in Boca. I worked for a company called Applied Card Systems in Boca. And a year and a half and 2 years into the company, when we were slow, I used to take a piece of paper and doodle my name, Chantel Merchant, Operation Manager, Chantel Merchant, Operation Manager. I wrote it over and over and over again all the time. Every little piece of paper I had, I kept writing Chantel Merchant, Operation Manager, Chantel Merchant, Operation Manager. One of my coworkers, Marcus, at the time, he came up to me and looked over my shoulder. He said, "Oh, so you're trying to steal Peter's job," which was my manager at the job. I'm like, "No, I'm not trying to steal Peter's job." And at the time, I didn't even know anything about manifestation. I knew nothing about that. I was like, I'm just speaking it into existence that I'm going to be an operational manager. And he was like, "Where?" I'm like, "I don't know." So fast forward a year and a half later, I get a call from my old job that I used to work with when I actually went to college. When I went to college, he called me. He was like, "We have a position here, an operational manager position, and I need someone in this position that I can trust. And you're the first person I thought about. And I know you finished college, and I know you have the experience and the management experience now." So I kind of spoke it into existence. So I'm telling you this story is because I'm kind of spoiled by God. I have a track record of focusing on what I want, and then I get what I want. But what I'm realizing is there's a season that you get to when God is not concerned about your timeline. He's not concerned about your uncomfortability. He's more concerned about your building your character. He's more concerned about pruning you and preparing you for the rooms that you're going to go into. He's more concerned about your obedience. He's more concerned about your faithfulness, your uncomfortability and your impatience and not wanting to go through the process is no concern for God. His number one concern is building your character. His number one concern is building your patience. His number one concern is your consistency in your obedience. His number one concern is for you to complete the process of pruning for this particular season, because when you think about it, the pruning process never ends because each season has its own thing. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I know for me, I have firsthand experience and I'm doing everything right. I'm being obedient. I'm doing what God is telling me to do, but you don't see the fruits of your labor. You don't see the results of your obedience, of your diligence, of you continuously doing the right thing. And that's because God's concern is not for you to get to the finish line. That's not his concern. His concern is to build your character, and it has to be slow and steady. There's certain things that you can't rush through, that you have to go through it. And so when you don't see results and you're being obedient, that's God working on your character. When you don't see results and you're being consistent, that's God working on your obedience, working on your faith. Because faith is something that you hear, it's not something that you see. I wrote a scripture down, Romans 10:17. It said, faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. And in Matthew 21:22, it says, and whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have faith, right? So when we don't see results, it's not because God has abandoned us. Because I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have my moments where I'm on my phone with my friend, and I'm like, I feel abandoned by God. I know God hasn't abandoned me. I know God hasn't overlooked me or forgotten about me, but I feel abandoned. And the reason why the feeling of abandonment comes in is because the extreme level of uncomfortability in the season that I was in, and also not seeing the results of me consistently putting God first, being at the foot of the cross, being under the bosom of God, being faithful, being obedient, being diligent, being consistent, being loyal, being loving, being in the Word of God. So that's why I feel at that time when I'm on the phone crying to my best friend that I feel abandoned, but I know I'm not abandoned. And I want to be transparent about this, because the thing with Christianity, I think sometimes that deter people from really having a walk with God is because we don't tell people the moment of weaknesses that we have. And I think it's very important that we share that. I don't think it's all the time we wake up and we're faithful all the time. You know, there are times I do feel abandoned, but mentally in my heart, I know God hasn't abandoned me. But that's because I'm doing the work, I'm doing the work, I'm doing the work, I'm doing the work, and I'm not seeing any results. Or the results that I see, I'm not happy with the results because my flesh is more happy with tangible results that I can actually touch. I did a video on fruitfulness, and I explained to you that fruitfulness is not just monetary. It's not just success in your business. It's also the impact you made in people's lives. So instead of me being grateful and thanking God for the lives that I'm changing because of the transparency that me being authentic and transparent and showing my story, my flesh is more concerned with tangible results. But the whole time that I'm concerned about actually not seeing results, God is working on my character. And I know God is working on my character is because what I used to struggle with, even if I go against the odds of what I'm struggling with and my flesh takes over for a minute, it doesn't feel right. This is how you know that you have changed and you've elevated in your spirituality, is when you're no longer comfortable with old behavior, old habits that you used to do. Even if you get angry and you get mad, there should be a level of discomfort that feels weird, and that's good. That means that God is working on your character. And God is pruning you, that there's progress, that you're changing. So if you're in a season in your life, it doesn't matter if you're watching this video right now and you're the most successful person on earth. There's always some area in your life that you're trying to change and you're trying to elevate in and you're trying to improve in. It could be anything from fitness or anything for growing your business, maybe your children, your family, your marriage, your personal life. It could be anything, starting an extension to your business. And maybe you're someone watching this video and you're at the beginning stages of a transformation in your life where you're just starting to put your foot forward and actually doing the work to be the best version of yourself, putting your foot forward to be spiritually grounded and not religious, and you're sticking your toe in the water, just testing it out. I just want to let you know, there are seasons in your life you're just going to say something and it's going to happen. You're just going to manifest it and it's just going to happen. But there's also seasons in your life that you're going to do everything that you can and nothing is going to see. You're not going to see any manifestation because God is more concerned with slow and steady of building your character. He's more concerned of you going through the obstacles of the process because He knows the rooms that He's going to take you in. He knows the season and what is required, the prerequisites that's required for you to be able to sustain that season. And if you're not able to sustain the season of not seeing the tangible results, you're not going to be able to go into the next season. And if you do go to the next season, you're going to go to the next season prematurely, and you're going to be kicked out of that season and have to go back to the starting line and start all over again. So this is basically a video just to encourage you because I don't talk about anything that I haven't personally experienced, guys. I'm not always strong all the time. I am proud of myself. I've come an extremely long way. I am nothing what I used to be before as far as my spirituality. I'm definitely not drinking spiritual milk anymore. I'm for sure eating solid food with a fork and knife, okay? So I'm nothing like I was before, but I have my moments where I'm like, okay, I feel abandoned. Where are you, God? Did you forget about me? And in my heart, I know that He hasn't abandoned me. I know He's here. He hasn't gone anywhere. God has never let me down. He made His timing and my timing may not be aligned, but He's never abandoned me. So anytime you're doing something, and in comparison, guys, it's a huge deterrent from you learning the lessons that you need to learn in your walk and in your season with God. Keep your eye on your paper and not worry about what other people are doing, and learn how to be happy for other people, because that's a big part of growing, and it's a big part of you being able to go to elevate to your next season. If you don't have the ability to be happy for someone else, there's no way that you're going to be able to be successful, at least authentically, genuinely, and organically. I mean, and if you don't have the ability to be happy for other people's success, even when it's not your time, then it's maybe something that you need to work on and get some therapy and talk to somebody about, because you cannot elevate without celebrating other people's elevations. And you have to be in a season where even if it's not your turn, and if somebody else's turn and you're in a room of opportunity, drop someone's name. Drop somebody's name. Even if it's not your turn, clap for other people. Celebrate for other people. That's a big part, a big, huge part in seeing fruits of your labor, in seeing progress, and finally seeing tangible results in your journey, in your walk with God, when you're able to clap for other people. So this ties into every single thing: being patient, being obedient, and understanding God is more concerned. The main thing that I want you to get out of this video is that God doesn't care about your uncomfortability. God doesn't care about your timing. God doesn't care that you're frustrated and you're irritated. His main concern is your character, building your character. His main concern is you not going into the next season prematurely. He wants you to have all the tools necessary in order for you to thrive in that next season. And what that requires is for you to go slow and steady through the season while He's building your character, Go through the process without having to skip any parts of the process. Go through the pruning and go through the persecution, because we cannot avoid the persecution. Without the persecution, we can't thrive in the rooms that God is going to put us in the seasons that God is going to put us in the connections that He has for us. So that's the main thing that I want you. So anytime you feel irritated, which you will, because I know I have, and I'm sure I will again. You're going to get to a point, if you haven't, you will, trust me. You're going to get to a point, you're going to get a little irritated. You're like, what's going on, God? When is this season going to be over? I've learned enough. I have maximized my level of persecution. I can't take it anymore. I'm obedient. I'm telling you, I'm doing everything that you're asking me to do. What else do you want from me? The fact that you're asking it and you're still in that season of pruning and persecution and where God is building your character, meaning it's not time for you to leave. Because if it was time for you to leave, God would politely open the door for you to leave. So when you get to that moment, I just want you to remember what I said. The reason why you're still in it is because He's more concerned about building your character than He is concerned about your uncomfortability. He's more concerned about you not entering into a season prematurely, but fully have the armor of God on you. He's more concerned of you walking into a room prepared. So keep that in mind anytime you feel impatient about not seeing progress in your life. Have a nice day, guys.